Training Part 6. In this session we'll discuss the terminology and navigating the billing page. In previous sessions we have discussed how the pricing is calculated. We'll move on to this session, which we will discuss the terminology of the page and what the fields represent. At the top of the page we see a section called Mobile. Now we have gone through this before. Just to recap, mobile is the A leg, which means that if a call is initiated, it is the A leg. Terminations is when the call is received. All networks in every country charge a termination rate. This is why we cannot offer free roaming on incoming calls, because Anaconda Mobile would have to foot the bill. As stated, we are currently on the mobile page. It's highlighted with the box around the mobile. You see a box says expand. Now this expand enables that every country, there's over 200 countries listed in this table. We hit expand. It is supposed to open up every country. However, this rarely occurs is because there's so much data associated with this page. Your PC laptop will require a high bandwidth at the time of this operation. And it can take several minutes for it to open up every country and every network. As you can see, it is unresponsive because my bandwidth is not capable of opening the pages. Nevertheless, we'll continue on. I'll just kill this, kill the page, I'll reload it. If this occurs, I'll have to open up the countries individually. Now remember, you generally only have to do this once when setting the rate platform. You only have to go into the countries that change them as you get rate changes. So I've opened up some countries, and for the purpose of the exercise we have received new rate plans, so we've opened these countries up. Now rather than going back to close all these countries, simply go to collapse and I'll close every country that is open at the time. For the purpose of the exercise, I've opened up the Australian country. Obviously we can use Vodafone and the Optus network. We have inbound calls, which represents that if the Anaconda Malaysia mobile customer is in Australia and receives a phone call from anywhere in the world, that customer would be charged 28 cents per minute on both the Vodafone and the Yes Optus network. Move on to the on-net inbound calls. On-net represents that it is Anaconda to Anaconda customers. So if a husband and wife or family member each have a telephone, they ring each other, we can offer special rates. Now we don't do this, Anaconda Australia, we don't offer this because we give the customers a special rate as it is. However, you're entitled to do that, to give them a special rate, whatever it may be. Move on to callback calls. Callback calls is when a callback is initiated. It will go to the tower in the country or the network you're calling, and then it'll ring you back. 98% of the dialing out from the handset is through the callback call facility. We move on to the on-net callback calls. Once again, this is Anaconda to Anaconda. You'll see that our rate is exactly the same as a general callback call. Move on to the A-League for direct dialing. You see here that the direct dialing rates are more expensive than the callback rates. So generally we will disable this, and this is done through the administration platform. We'll be shown at a later date. Move on to the mobile originated SMS. So if a customer from their handset makes or sends a text, they're charged an A-League. Now that is then joined to whatever country that SMS is sent to, is joined together to come up with the total price. So we see here at 25 cents from Australia, that is what the A-League of that SMS is. Once again, we have the mobile originated from the handset, from Anaconda customer to Anaconda customer. Once again, we charge at the very same rate as we would a general SMS. You'll notice here that we have what's called SMS for triggering callback. Now this is generally not used to trigger a call. However, some networks around the world will have issues with their trigger. To initiate a call, we can allow the SMS trigger to happen, and the customer is not only charged a callback call, in this case would be 28 cents per minute, adds to the trigger, which is 25 cents, obviously making it a more expensive phone call. We see here MTSMS. That is a SMS received to the Anaconda handset, and this is always a free incoming SMS. We do not charge for that. We're not charged, so we don't charge. Move across to the data. This data you see here is 0.00389. That's in increments of 1 kilobit. To make 1 megabit is times that by 1,000. You times that by 1,000, it'll be 38 cents. 38.9 cents. It's always good practice once you finish doing the rate sheet is collapse it all. As you can see, there's all those countries. You may be working on a country such as United States, and you'll be changing data rates here, and if you put 30% in and you haven't realized that you have United States open, it will change that percentage as well. So always think about collapsing. Now we move on to the terminations. Once again, we'll open up the Australian network. We can see that there's a number of networks. We have at the top, like all countries, will have just Australia. Now Australia would represent regional Australia. Non-capital cities will have Adelaide, Brisbane, Melbourne, Perth, Sydney. Now anything that falls outside that, that's what the rate is. So they're generally landlines. We move to a premium. Premium's a very expensive service in Australia. 1300 1800 number. We don't allow a call to these numbers, so we put a none in the markup, and it bars that call, so it will not reach that call. Move down to here's our Australian mobile providers, and that's what they charge for an incoming, for a termination call. So an Anaconda Malaysia customer is in India and wants to ring Australia, and they ring a customer who's on the, say, the Telstra network, they're charged at 17 cents. Or if they just ring a landline that is in Melbourne, they charge 3.36 cents. And the rates at 60 60/60, they're charged per minute, rounded up to the next minute. As per the A leg on the previous page, we can change any of these figures move on to where it says call offload. Now I'll explain call offload in another training session. So we'll move on to the VoIP, or correction, we'll move to call forwarding. An Anaconda customer can forward their phone calls, and we can charge to have that phone call forwarded or diverted to any other number. And obviously that's got to be done from the customer's handset when they're forwarding that number to another number. We'll talk about VoIP in another session. Move on to SMS termination. So as previously spoken about, if you're an SMS Anaconda customer from Malaysia, you're charged an A-leg rate, and if you SMS the customer, any person in Australia on a mobile network, you're charged at this rate, which is 12 cents. So the A leg and the B leg are combined to make a call.